6:30.
This is the CBS Evening News. Connie Chung sitting in for Dan Rather. Good evening. President Bush today asked Congress to give hefty pay increases to certain high-level federal employees. CBS News White House correspondent Leslie Stahl has details. Leslie?
Connie, President Bush is proposing a 25% increase for senior officials in the federal bureaucracy and an even larger increase for scientists and other highly skilled federal workers. He's also calling for a ban on speaking fees or honoraria for members of Congress, income he hopes they'll replace with their own pay increase. But the president is not suggesting how much, thereby skirting the issue that excited public outrage last February when Congress tried to give itself a raise of 50%.
So it allows the opportunity for Congress to vote a pay raise that will not be disproportionately high.
The president's plan would boost salaries for 7,200 federal workers, including cabinet members whose yearly paychecks would go up from $99,500 to $124,400. Vice President Quayle's salary would jump from $115,000 to $143,000. President Bush's $200,000 salary would not be affected. The package would establish a special Stop the Brain Drain super salary category for 200 key scientific, medical, and economic jobs. Salaries could go up to but not exceed $124,000 a year.
Over the last 10 years, the NIH has not been able to recruit a single senior scientist from the outside.
But consumer advocate Ralph Nader says the Bush plan is unfair.
These people are being paid in the top 1% of income earners in the United States, and the gap between the political rulers and the ruled who pay their salary is wide enough.
The White House says that in the last 6 months, 40 people have turned down job offers from President Bush, saying they couldn't afford the pay cut they'd have to take from private industry. The total cost of the president's plan, $109 million for next year. Connie?
Thank you, Leslie. The Bush administration permanently banned the import of most foreign-made assault weapons today, but as Bruce Morton reports, this still does not affect U.S.-made versions of the same guns.
The Bush administration today made permanent the ban on imported assault rifles, which it announced on a tentative basis last spring.
Our action today will affect some 750,000 weapons.
The government has the authority to ban imports of weapons which are not used for sporting purposes.
That's why they're being denied, not because they're being used in crime, but because they do not meet the sporting purpose and are not generally recognized as such.
But the government started reviewing imported assault rifles after a Chinese-made AK-47 was used to kill 5 children and wound 29 others in a Stockton, California playground last January. It's a turnaround for George Bush, a National Rifle Association member who as a candidate opposed any restrictions on guns.
This is President Bush and the U.S. government saying these assault weapons are bad. They have no place on America's streets, and we're not going to let them into the United States anymore.
Yes, but the fact is 3/4 of the assault rifles in use are American-made. The government has no power to ban them, no power to stop companies from building American versions of the banned foreign models.
So the important thing is to take the domestic weapons that are identical or very similar to these imported that the president just banned and get them off the market.
Stark has sponsored legislation to do that, but it faces stiff opposition. The National Rifle Association opposed even today's limited action as inconsistent with the rights guaranteed law-abiding American gun owners under the Constitution. But some customers at a Georgia gun store today thought the president hadn't gone far enough.
This just goes back to like Prohibition. You can still get alcohol. Bad guys are still going to get guns if they want them.
Nobody thinks today's action will disarm the drug dealers or make the streets safe. But it is a step in a field where even small steps have always been politically difficult for presidents and Congresses. Bruce Morton, CBS News, Washington.
The Coast Guard has made one of the biggest drug busts in U.S. history. More than 1.5 tons of Colombian cocaine destined for South Florida gangs was found hidden aboard a Panamanian-registered freighter, seized about 350 miles southwest of Miami. U.S. agents boarded the ship in Key West with the permission of Panama's government in exile. After a lengthy search, they found the drugs in a hidden chamber cemented beneath a carpeted passageway. 9 crewmen were arrested. A Cuban military court today sentenced to death by firing squad a three-star general who fought alongside President Fidel Castro during the Cuban Revolution. The general and three other officers condemned to death were convicted of drug trafficking in a scandal that has rocked the communist government. Juan Vazquez in Miami has details.
Confirmar la certeza de que Cuba no esté.
General Arnoldo Ochoa, once a favorite of Fidel Castro, was among those condemned to death by firing squad. The brief announcement was made on Cuban television today.
Arnaldo Ochoa Sanchez.
The prosecutor called Ochoa the ringleader, the man who stabbed Castro in the back. The military tribunal also ordered Colonel Antonio de la Guardia, another one-time Castro friend, and two other officers to face a firing squad. What began as a show trial against Ochoa turned into a political spectacle that has fascinated Cubans. For once, they can read about official wrongdoing in the party newspaper. In the official version, the only version available in Cuba, Ochoa and the others are painted as traitors. The government's propaganda appears to be effective with the Cuban people.
They have betrayed the people, they have betrayed the party, they have betrayed the armed forces, they have betrayed all of us. I thought it was absolutely impossible that anyone could possibly stoop so low.
But U.S. analysts say the official version conceals the real issues, politics and power.
I see this as principally politically motivated, that Castro feels very threatened by the strength of the armed forces and the Ministry of the Interior forces.
I think that if Fidel does kill Ochoa and some of his accomplices, number one, it will increase the apprehension and fear of the military in Cuba. And two, it would indicate that Fidel really wants to cover up something.
No mi persona, sino la revolución.
Before the sentencing, Ochoa told the court he deserved to die for the damage he had caused to the revolution. Now, the man who once fought alongside Fidel Castro finds his fate in Castro's hands. Juan Vazquez, CBS News, Miami.
The FBI has found 3 F-16 fighter jet engines that disappeared from an Air Force base in Utah earlier this week. The engines are pretty expensive and they're kind of big. So how could the Air Force lose them? And who would want them? CBS News Pentagon correspondent David Martin has some answers.
At Hill Air Force Base in Utah today, nobody was able to explain how 3 jet engines costing about $2 million apiece could have disappeared. When workers returned from the long July 4th weekend, 3 of the high-performance engines used to power the F-16 jet fighter had vanished from a repair shop. Presumably, the 16-foot-long, 3,500-pound engines were loaded on a truck and driven right out the gate past the guards.
This afternoon, the Air Force announced the engines have been recovered by the FBI. But sources tell CBS News the engines were never missing, that in reality the entire affair was a Pentagon sting set up as part of an investigation into the theft of equipment from military bases in Utah.
Each year, hundreds of millions of dollars worth of equipment turns up missing at U.S. military bases. In many cases, investigators never know whether the items have in fact been stolen or whether somebody has simply made an accounting error. Sometimes, as with this 30-ton artillery piece, the thieves don't get very far, 70 miles before running out of gas. Other times, as with an estimated $7 million in spare parts smuggled off the aircraft carrier Kitty Hawk, they get all the way to Iran. In the case of the jet engines, an employee at Hill Air Force Base had tried to sell them to undercover agents. No arrests have been made yet, but officials believe they have uncovered a major military theft ring. David Martin, CBS News, the Pentagon.
Still to come on the CBS Evening News, Richard Schlesinger on new cracks in old airliners. And John Blackstone on the breakdown of the Apple market.
Ready, New York?
Yeah, New York is ready.
Ready, Santa Fe?
Right, we're online.
This is Charleston. We're ready.
We're ready in Dallas.
Let's do it.
Everybody online? Go ahead, drop it.
Can a 10-city conference call be so clear you can actually hear a pin drop?
Got it.
For fiber optic calls that sound better and cost less.
I got it.
That was a pin? Call Sprint now and talk with the best.
It's incredible. You know, patients come in, they don't even tell me they smoke. It's only after I examine them that I find out they're trying to quit.
Yeah, you know what I tell them? It's an addiction to nicotine. You need treatment. Today we can treat nicotine addiction.
Patients don't know that. They just don't know that.
Well, it's a shame they don't come to us.
Yeah.
See your doctor for help.
You don't have to be a professional athlete to know the importance of including whole grains in your diet. But of these leading cereals, only one is made with 100% whole grain. Only Wheaties. So only Wheaties has the whole grain nutrition you want, no matter what field you're in. Just ask Oral Hershiser. Better get your whole grain.
Better eat your Wheaties.
President Bush made preparations today for his 9-day trip to Europe. He leaves Sunday. Today, Mr. Bush signed a proclamation commemorating the 200th anniversary of the start of the French Revolution. He'll be in Paris next Thursday to help celebrate that anniversary and to attend the economic summit. Warsaw Pact nations began their summit today in Bucharest, Romania. Tom Fenton has our report.
President Gorbachev today opened the summit of the deeply divided Warsaw Pact. Moscow's East European allies are no longer hiding the squabbles that used to be kept secret. The hardliners, Romania, East Germany, Czechoslovakia, and Bulgaria, fear Gorbachev's reforms will lead to a more unstable world. They are especially disturbed by his speech yesterday in Strasbourg, offering more unilateral arms cuts and endorsing radical reforms now taking place in Poland and Hungary. The hardliners fear the continuing pullout of Soviet troops from Eastern Europe may threaten the stability of their own regimes. They point to the growing power vacuum in Poland, where anti-Soviet demonstrations have been taking place. The concern of the Warsaw Pact hardliners was shared today by the Supreme Commander of NATO. While he applauded Gorbachev's reforms, General John Galvin said in London they have created certain dangers. Galvin said the Soviets are not quite as predictable anymore. They have serious problems that could lead to instabilities. He questioned whether Europe is as safe as it was 10 years ago. But Hungary, like Poland, sees Gorbachev's reforms as an opportunity to dump old-style communism and reform a failed economy by switching to a Western-style system. Even here in Hungary, there's some concern about Gorbachev, not about his reforms, but about his chances for survival. Foreign Minister Gyula Horn, who's attending the Warsaw Pact meeting, said recently that Hungary must be prepared for Gorbachev to fail. The best insurance, he said, is agreements with other countries. Clearly, he meant the West, and the sort of contacts that begin this weekend with President Bush's trip to Poland and Hungary. Tom Fenton, CBS News, Budapest.
Israel reacted with rage today to the Palestinian attack that killed 14 people. All were aboard a bus that was seized by a terrorist and crashed into a ravine. Martha Teichner reports.
As they began burying the dead from yesterday's bus crash, Israelis were united for once by grief and anger at the Arab terrorist attack.
Arabs always kill the Jews. Even as a child, I remember they used to kill their neighbors, their friends.
It's going to be again and again and over. These things, it's not going to stop.
So great was the public hostility today against anyone in favor of talking peace with Palestinians. The cabinet minister Shimon Peres was heckled and then stoned when he tried to attend one of the funerals. It was a day for bitter anti-Arab backlash. Extremist Rabbi Meir Kahana preached to his followers, "Kill the man who comes to kill you." Police had to use tear gas to disperse the crowd. The man who shouted, "God is great," as he plunged the bus over a 100-foot cliff is a Muslim fundamentalist from Gaza. He reportedly rode the bus many times, planning the attack. He acted in revenge, according to police, because members of his family were beaten by Israeli soldiers. Martha Teichner, CBS News, Tel Aviv.
The day may come when all dishwashers will get your dishes sparkling clean and run quietly enough to let you talk on the phone. But isn't it nice to know Whirlpool has dishwashers that will do it today?
The evaluation committee is in your office.
This is my husband, Paul. He's under a lot of pressure. But now he's taking charge of his health, eating right by cutting down on cholesterol and saturated fat. That's why I cook with Puritan, with no cholesterol and proven 94% saturated fat-free. Better than any other kind of oil.
Your wife called sneakers before dinner?
Hey, Mr. Principal, carry your books?
Anytime.
Paul's feeling great, and I am too.
Puritan, make it your oil for life.
It was Dean Witter's personal philosophy of success.
We have a sacred trust to protect our customers.
But its impact was felt on California Street,
To maintain conservative policies.
on Lincoln Street, and Acorn Street.
To put the interest of our clients first.
Dean Witter put principles before profit, people before portfolios. There are many ways to measure success on Wall Street.
We measure success one investor at a time.
Dean Witter, a member of the Sears Financial Network.
Just this much Court Aid heals more kinds of itches and rashes than all of these. Because Court Aid has a clinically proven healing medicine they don't have. That's why Court Aid is the Itch Aid.
More problems for this country's aging airline fleet. The government has ordered inspections of older model Boeing 727 jetliners after a crack was found in one of the planes. And as Richard Schlesinger reports, more cracks have turned up in the planes that have been flying for a quarter of a century.
As soon as United Airlines discovered a 20-inch crack in one of its oldest 727s, the order went out from the Federal Aviation Administration. Operators of the first 727s built by Boeing must inspect for similar cracks. 47 planes are covered by the order, all built in 1963 and 1964. United owns 16 of the planes covered by the order. When it inspected its other 727s, United found similar cracks in 2 other planes, both in the same area near the left cabin door. The jets have been repaired and returned to service. Finding cracks in airplanes can be extremely difficult. Many are almost microscopic and can be buried deep within an airplane structure. Concern about aging airplanes has now spawned a new industry as high-tech engineers look for new ways to spot defects. This device uses an electric current to spot small cracks before they expand and cause a disaster.
It can detect cracks on the order of just a few thousandths of an inch in depth.
The changing rules of the airline game mean more older planes are in service, straining the maintenance budgets of airlines already struggling to remain competitive.
There are still cracks out there to be found as we talk. There are still elements of dealing with an aging structure that we do not know thoroughly all there is to know about.
Well, an older plane is not necessarily an unsafe plane. Many aircraft are all but completely rebuilt over the years in a series of routine maintenance procedures. But just like an old car, the older an airplane gets, Connie, the more things can go wrong.
Richard, how soon will the new devices to spot cracks be in general use?
There's a model of the machine that's been in use for some time. The airlines wanted a smaller one that's battery-powered and portable, and that should be available in about 30 days.
All right. Thank you, Richard. In the latest government report indicating the economy is slowing, the Labor Department today said the nation's civilian unemployment rate edged up 1/10 of a point in June to 5.3%. Analysts noted that non-farm businesses added just 180,000 jobs last month. The 4th straight month the new jobs category fell well below the 300,000 monthly average last year. The Southwest Bank of St. Louis today announced it has cut its prime lending rate half a point to 10.5%. No other major banks immediately followed suit, but they are expected to do so next week as worries about a possible recession outpace inflation concerns.
I'm real aware as to what's going on with my body. I have taken pain relievers that have the ingredient ibuprofen in it, and sometimes they have irritated my stomach. I did just recently talk to my doctor, and she recommended Tylenol because it won't cause the stomach irritation that ibuprofen can.
Linda Mulhauser trusts Tylenol. Its pain reliever is in a class by itself.
I always make sure that I have it, and I just continue using it because I trust it.
You're up.
I'm sleeping.
You were walking.
I was walking in my sleep.
Have your coffee.
Hey, yours is darker than mine.
Mine's decaffeinated Folgers crystals. Yours is the decaffeinated you always drink.
Did you use the same amount?
Yeah, watch. Mine's mountain grown Folgers.
Nice aroma.
A sip?
Yeah. I thought I was the reason you're always so bright-eyed in the morning.
Oh, you are.
Decaffeinated Folgers crystals. So dark and rich, shouldn't you switch?
You can see the dream of success in the eyes of people all across America. At Citicorp, we understand the dream. That's why, as Citicorp and Citibank, we've become America's largest financial services organization. already helping 1 in every 5 American families. With more home mortgages, more student loans, more MasterCard and Visa cards than any other company. We'd like you to get to know us better. Citicorp, because Americans want to succeed, not just survive.
A White House official who's been overseeing the budget of the Department of Housing and Urban Development has been called to tell Congress what she knows about the HUD scandal. Janet Hale was Deputy Secretary at HUD in the Reagan administration. At least 2 projects she handled there are targets of the investigation of alleged corruption and mismanagement. Hale now works at the White House Budget Office. She's been ordered not to deal with any HUD matters related to the probe. Another of the players in the Iran-Contra affair was sentenced today. Conservative fundraiser Carl Spitz-Channel drew 2 years probation for conspiring to defraud the U.S. Treasury. He had made illegal use of a tax-exempt foundation to raise funds to arm the Nicaraguan Contras. None of the 4 men convicted so far in Iran-Contra is going to jail. The Cincinnati Reds and the New York Mets, 2 preseason dream teams, meet in New York tonight with both clubs struggling to live up to their high hopes. But for Cincinnati manager Pete Rose, the subject of a painful season-long inquiry into his alleged illegal betting, the visit to New York is especially difficult. Frank Courier explains.
Tonight, Pete Rose and his Reds will try to stretch their winning streak to 2 against New York, the city where the Cincinnati manager is said to have feared for his safety because he hadn't paid his gambling debts to the mob. Major League Baseball is investigating this possible underworld connection. Allegations Rose bet heavily with this man, Richard Troy, nicknamed Val, who ran bets out of his house in Staten Island. Troy has been indicted for gambling and is linked to New York organized crime.
We always said that the investigation was ongoing, but I've never commented on it, and I'm not going to start now.
It's not the only time Rose's bets and debts have been tied to the crime syndicate. In a partnership with New York promoter Mike Bertolini, Rose turned autographed balls and baseball cards into cash at huge exhibitions and allegedly used the profits to settle debts with bookies. Bertolini won't comment on the allegations, but in a phone call secretly taped by Rose accuser Paul Jensen, he talks about Rose's decision to ignore more than $200,000 in debts.
The bookies in New York, how much did he...
Don't talk like that on the phone. I hate
All right.
that.
What are they going to do to him?
I don't know. We're not going to worry about them.
Oh my God, Mikey. You're going to have some people after him.
In his deposition to Baseball, Rose told investigators, quote, "They threatened to burn down my house, to break my kids' legs if I didn't pay up." Threats that come as no surprise to organized crime experts.
If you're a gambler and you run up large debts, the people to whom you owe the money, and ultimately their organized crime figures, they're going to look to get paid.
With a renewed focus on links to the underworld and Rose's lawsuit against the baseball commissioner, the legal maneuvering on both sides threatens to postpone any verdict on his fate for weeks. For Pete Rose, who insists he never bet on baseball, every day of delay buys another day in the dugout. Frank Courier, CBS News, New York.
The Food and Drug Administration today said it is banning sales of non-prescription baldness creams and aphrodisiacs because the products don't work. The FDA said hair growth nostrums usually sold by mail or through barbers or beauticians, quote, have continued to be an area of considerable fraud. And the agency said none of the products that claim to arouse or increase sexual desire or improve sexual performance is effective.
Now, new scientific tests prove Heart's Blockade Repellent gives your pet total protection against fleas and ticks, or your money back. Unsolicited, here's what some satisfied Blockade users have told us.
I have never been quite so pleased with an over-the-counter flea product. Blockade is effective and does exactly what it promises to do.
Thanks for Heart's Blockade. It's everything you say. My cat has been flea-free all summer.
Heart's Blockade, guaranteed flea and tick protection that really works.
It's real. Bob's real.
Well, I know Bob Castleberry. He's real.
Bob Castleberry really won $10 million in the Publishers Clearinghouse Sweepstakes.
It's really nice to know that real people win this. I know it's for real now.
He showed me the check.
It's a fact. Scout's honor.
Hey, it's for real, definitely.
I'm really a believer. I mean, that is just wonderful.
Enter the Publishers Clearinghouse Sweepstakes fast, and on August 3rd, you could be a millionaire.
Send it in every time. I mean, the minute you get it, take it to the post office the next day.
These days, I'm eating better.
Less cholesterol, more fiber, plenty of fruits and vegetables. So how come I'm the one with a painful gas?
Surprise! The foods highest in nutrition are often highest in gas. That's why there's Gas-X. Unlike the leading antacid, Gas-X is the only ingredient approved for the relief of gas pain and pressure. See? Only Gas-X gets rid of the gas, so you feel better fast.
I'll eat to that.
Eat right and feel right with Gas-X.
Alar is a chemical used to keep apples crisp. After the government found the chemical causes cancer in laboratory animals, the manufacturer withdrew Alar from the domestic market. But for thousands of worried consumers, apples remain the forbidden fruit. Late today, all that led the U.S. Agriculture Department to announce it will buy $15 million worth of Washington State apples. John Blackstone reports.
For the apple growers of Washington's Yakima Valley, the government's decision to buy apples is the only good news this year. Cold storage rooms are stacked ceiling high with more than 220 million pounds of unsold Washington apples harvested last fall.
It's a disaster right now of unequal terms probably we've ever had.
Some of last year's apples are being taken out of storage, packed and sold, but the surplus has driven prices so low, some growers say they may as well be giving the fruit away.
In the fall they were getting 14 cents an apple, and now it's about 7 cents. That's well below what it costs to produce the apple.
The ruinous drop in sales and price is hurting virtually every apple grower, though only a few are responsible for the controversy that brought it on. The use of the chemical Alar to help keep apples red and firm.
We should not be required to sort of go down the tube with everybody just to protect the few that used Alar.
When consumers were alerted to the health risks associated with Alar this spring, every apple became suspect, even though a majority of growers had already stopped using the chemical.
The Washington apple grower is taking it on the chin. It has probably cost the Washington apple grower in excess of $100 million.
Brothers Alan and Jay Sandlin run a family farm. They have not used Alar for 3 years, but the sales disaster brought on by the chemical is threatening to cost them their orchards. They are fighting foreclosure by the bank that holds their mortgage.
We have asked the federal bankruptcy judge to give us reorganization protection.
I've been here under some severe conditions for several years, and I'm not a quitter.
The 1989 apple crop is now being tended, with Alar no longer sold in the United States, and the EPA expected soon to announce a virtual ban on its use here. Growers hope this crop will restore the apple's healthy reputation. John Blackstone, CBS News, Yakima, Washington.
And that's the CBS Evening News. I'm Connie Chung in New York. Bob Schieffer will be here tomorrow, and I'll see you again Sunday, along with Dan Rather in Poland as he begins anchoring our week-long coverage of President Bush's European trip and our special look at the new face of Europe. Thank you for joining us, and for all of us at CBS News, have a good weekend.
Continues with one of golf's largest galleries and where there's always a fight to the finish. The Cannon Greater Hartford Open on CBS Sports.
This is CBS.
Good evening, I'm Chris Clark, and coming up next on Eyewitness News.
I'm Dan McDonald. Tensions are running high tonight in Gallatin after last night's clash between police and residents in an area known as Pease Corner. We'll have the story.
And police finally decide to talk to the suspect in the Sriracha kidnapping. We'll tell you what happened there, and meet a woman who says she can read your dog's mind. And in sports, a great match. Eyewitness News is next. Join us.
All this week on Win, Lose, or Draw.
I want him out of this show.